Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we're talking about ghosts. Not the kind that haunt old houses, but the kind that haunts your very own DNA. Long after the last Neanderthals vanished some 40,000 years ago, their legacy endures within billions of humans today. If your ancestry is from outside of Africa, between 1 and 4% of your genome is likely of Neanderthal origin. And this ancient inheritance is far from silent. It actively shapes your health, influencing your immune system, your risk for disease, and even your mood. This is the story of the ghost in our genes, and its surprising relevance in the 21st century. The journey to understand this began with what seemed like an impossible challenge: sequencing the entire genome of an extinct human species from DNA that was tens of thousands of years old, degraded, and contaminated. The breakthrough came from the pioneering work of Swedish geneticist Svante Pääbo, who won the 2022 Nobel Prize for his efforts. His team at the Max Planck Institute launched the Neanderthal Genome Project in 2006. Using novel techniques, they extracted ancient DNA from 38,000-year-old bone fragments of 3 female Neanderthals found in a Croatian cave. By 2010, they published the first draft sequence, confirming that our Homo sapiens ancestors had interbred with Neanderthals. This was followed by an even higher quality genome from a 50,000-year-old Neanderthal toe bone found in Siberia's Denisova cave. These genetic maps gave scientists the toolkit they needed to scan modern human DNA, identify the Neanderthal segments, and figure out what they're doing. And what they found was astonishing. When modern humans first migrated out of Africa, they encountered new environments filled with new pathogens their immune systems had never seen. Neanderthals, having lived in Eurasia for hundreds of thousands of years, were already adapted. Interbreeding gave our ancestors a crucial shortcut, a rapid infusion of helpful immune genes. This is called adaptive introgression. One of the most important hand-me-downs involves a family of proteins called toll-like receptors. These act as your immune system's first line of defense, sitting on the surface of your cells, recognizing and attacking bacteria, fungi, and parasites. Studies show that Neanderthal versions of these genes give us a more robust immune response. However, this supercharged immunity is a double-edged sword. The same genetic variants that ramp up our defenses can also make our immune systems overreact. An immune system primed to fight ancient parasites can go into overdrive when it meets modern allergens like pollen or dust mites, predisposing carriers to allergies. This trade-off also extends to autoimmune diseases. Neanderthal genetic variants have been linked to an increased risk for conditions like lupus and Crohn's disease, where the immune system mistakenly attacks the body's own tissues. What was once beneficial in a world teeming with microbes can contribute to harmful chronic inflammation in our modern environments. The medical relevance of our Neanderthal DNA was thrown into the spotlight during the recent COVID-19 pandemic. Researchers found 2 key genetic regions inherited from Neanderthals that had completely opposite effects on the disease. The first is a major risk factor on chromosome 3. People carrying this Neanderthal gene cluster are up to 3 times more likely to need a ventilator if infected with SARS-CoV-2. This variant is carried by about 16% of Europeans and a staggering 50% of people in South Asia, where it's linked to more severe outcomes. It seems these genes trigger an excessive and damaging immune reaction in the lungs. But on the flip side, a different stretch of Neanderthal DNA on chromosome 12 actually offers protection. Carriers of this version are about 22% less likely to develop severe COVID-19. This protective segment helps your body produce enzymes that are more efficient at breaking down and clearing the virus. This stark duality shows that the Neanderthal legacy isn't simply good or bad. It's highly dependent on the specific context and the pathogen encountered. The influence of our Neanderthal ancestors also extends deep into our metabolism, with major implications for type 2 diabetes. Scientists have identified a gene variant, SLC16A11, inherited from Neanderthals, that is strongly associated with an increased risk of developing the disease. People with one copy of this variant are 25% more likely to have diabetes. Those with two copies have a 50% increased risk. This gene variant is found in up to half of people with recent Native American ancestry and many East Asians. It's involved in fat metabolism in the liver, and the Neanderthal version seems to alter fat levels in a way that contributes to diabetes risk. This is a classic example of the mismatch theory. A gene that might have been helpful for Neanderthals, who had a feast-or-famine hunter-gatherer lifestyle, becomes a liability in a modern world of caloric surplus and sedentary lives. What once helped store energy efficiently during times of scarcity now contributes to metabolic disease. Neanderthal DNA also had a pronounced effect on our skin and hair. As modern humans moved from equatorial Africa into the cooler, less sunny climates of Eurasia, they faced new challenges. Neanderthals passed on genes that were immediately useful. A big part of this legacy is in genes affecting keratin, the protein that gives toughness to our skin, hair, and nails. Neanderthal variants are linked to thicker hair and tougher skin, which provided better insulation against the cold. Some genes for lighter skin pigmentation also came from Neanderthals, an advantage in higher latitudes, where lighter skin is more efficient at producing vitamin D from limited sunlight. But again, there's a modern drawback. These same skin-related variants are also associated with a higher risk of developing sun-induced skin lesions, called actinic keratosis, which can sometimes lead to skin cancer. Perhaps the most startling discoveries concern the influence of Neanderthal genes on our brains and behavior. Studies have found that certain Neanderthal DNA is linked to a slightly increased risk for mood disorders and depression. One hypothesis connects this to genes that regulate our circadian rhythm, or body clock. These variants might have helped Neanderthals adapt their sleep-wake cycles to the changing light of northern latitudes. But in our modern world of artificial lights and altered sleep patterns, that same genetic legacy might predispose us to depression. Even more specific is the link to nicotine addiction. A particular piece of Neanderthal DNA has been tied to a significantly higher risk for becoming addicted to nicotine. This is another case of evolutionary mismatch. Neanderthals obviously didn't smoke tobacco. The gene involved affects a neurotransmitter in the brain. It likely had a different, perhaps beneficial function in a prehistoric environment, but in the modern world, it interacts with nicotine in a way that promotes dependency. How you experience pain might also be influenced by your Neanderthal heritage. 3 variants in a gene crucial for nerve signaling, traced back to Neanderthals, are associated with a lower pain threshold. People with these variants are more sensitive to certain kinds of pain. This increased sensitivity might have been an advantage evolutionarily. Feeling pain quickly helps prevent further injury, but today it contributes to variations in clinical pain experiences. And our archaic DNA might even influence the physical shape of our brains. Research has shown that the more Neanderthal DNA a person has, the more their skull shape subtly resembles that of Neanderthals. This can have consequences, with some studies linking this to a slightly higher risk for a neurological condition called Chiari malformation type 1. Finally, we must remember that Neanderthals weren't the only archaic humans our ancestors met. In the same Siberian cave where the high-quality Neanderthal genome was found, scientists also discovered another distinct group, the Denisovans. Interbreeding occurred with them too, and their DNA is found today in Melanesians, indigenous Australians, and some Southeast Asians. The most powerful example of a Denisovan gift is the EPAS1 gene, common in modern Tibetans. This gene variant helps the body survive in high-altitude, low-oxygen environments. It's a crystal-clear case of our ancestors acquiring a ready-made genetic solution to an extreme environment through interbreeding. So what does this all mean? The sequencing of archaic genomes has fundamentally rewritten our origin story. We are not a single, linear lineage. We are hybrids, carrying the genetic echoes of our closest extinct relatives. This ancient DNA is a dynamic, active part of our biology, a complex tapestry of costs and benefits. The genes that bolstered our ancestors' immune systems now contribute to allergies. Adaptations for a prehistoric lifestyle can increase our risk for modern diseases. And the subtle variants that shaped our ancestors' brains still influence our moods and perceptions today. By studying this ghost in our genome, we unlock profound insights into modern disease and gain a deeper appreciation for our complex evolutionary journey. It's a powerful reminder that to truly understand ourselves, we must understand the deep, intertwined story of all the humans who came before us.